Hello everyone. In today's video, we are going to talk about top 50 coding interview questions and answers. Myself Mohammad Zubair, and this channel is all about showing you how to become a highly paid IT pro really fast. So without any further ado, let's get started. Number 1. Please explain what you understand by computer programming. Well, it is also known as coding or programming. Programming is a process of converting or encoding an algorithm into a notation. It can be understood and executed by a computer, and every programming language contains instruction for the computer to execute a set of tasks. In general, a programming is a complex process that includes designing an algorithm, coding that algorithm in a programming language, debugging that program, maintaining it, and updating the code if required. Number 2. What do you mean by high-level programming language? In computer programming languages, those programming languages that offer a high level of generalization from your computer's instruction set architecture are known as high-level programming language. It is easier to develop a program in a high-level programming language than in a low-level programming language. Number 3. How many types of errors are out there? Well, there are 3 types of error are there. Number 1 is logical error. This type of error occurs in a computer program when we are implementing the wrong logic. As there is no report generated and we do not get any caution or warning about these type of errors in our programming, that is why they are most difficult ones to deal with. For example, when you are adding two numbers and mistakenly you put the minus sign instead of plus, or you misspelled the point in the float value. This is how you will get some logical errors. Second one are runtime errors. This type of error occurs when our program contains an illegal operation. These are the only types of errors that get displayed instantly during the program's execution. On the occurrence of this type of errors, the program execution gets stopped. For example, when you try to divide a number by 0, you will get a runtime error. Third ones are syntax error. Well, this type of error occurs when one or more grammatical rules of the programming language are violated. Such errors are detected during compile time. For example, when you forget to add a semicolon at the end of a line, or when you use an undeclared variable in the program, you will get syntax error. Number 4. What do you mean by scope of variable? Well, the scope is defined as the part of the code where the variable can be accessed in the program. There are 2 types of the scope of variables, local and global. In local, the variable is only accessible where it is defined, which means if it is defined in a function, it is accessible in it. Global scope variables are accessed anywhere in the program. Number 5. Can we execute a program without the main function in a program? No, we cannot execute a program or code without the presence of the main function. It is necessary to have a main function in almost all the programming languages. Number 6. What do you mean by null and void? Well, null is a value and variable is given a null value simply indicates an empty value. Null means never existed. For example, here I have char array size 10 and the value is null. The remaining elements are implicitly null, whereas void is a data type identifier. Void is used to identify pointers as having no initial size. Void means it existed but has been made such that it is not in effect. Void also gets used to return a function with no values. For example, the void my_func with some parameters This function will return nothing. So we also use void for this kind of work. Number 7. How can you define static memory allocation? Well, in static memory allocation, memory is allocated to the variable at the compile time, and that memory can't be increased while executing the program. It is used in the array. The lifetime of a variable in a static memory is equal to the lifetime of a program, and the static memory gets allocated using the static keyword. Number 8. What is the difference between single equal sign and double equal sign? Well, both of these might be the same to you, but they are used for entirely different purposes. Equal gets used to assign a value to a variable or assignment of anything. For example, if I write here int number 1 equals 10, it means we are assigning 10 as a value to a variable named as number 1. On the other hand, double equal sign is used for the comparison operations. For example, if value equals 4, here we are checking if the variable value is equal to 4 or not. So this was the basic difference between both type of operations. Number 9. How does variable declaration affects memory allocation? Well, when a particular data type is defined with a variable declaration, the total amount of memory that gets allocated depends on the data type to a variable we declared belongs to. For example, if you use int, it takes 4 bytes, short takes 2 bytes, float takes 4 bytes. So, if you declare a variable with any of these data types, they will take this much memory. Number 10. What are functional requirements? Well, functional requirements are the requirements that an end user wants from the development team, or these are the things that a system must do. For example, signing in, placing the order, and sending the email are functional requirements. These are presented or stated as the input to the system, and then operations are performed on those inputs, and then the outputs are expected. Without the functional requirement, a system cannot be developed. Number 11. What are non-functional requirements? Well, these are the quality traits that increase the system's performance, efficiency, and usability. In other words, these are the things that a system should have. If you ignore non-functional requirements, your system will still work. Yes, you might see some performance issue. Some of the non-functional requirements are as follow: flexibility, portability, security, scalability, performance, etc. Number 12. How can you define division by zero? Well, this is a trick question, and they might be trying to get into your head because division by zero is undefined. Number 13. Please explain the recursive function. Well, a recursive function is such a function that calls itself in a program is called as recursive function, and this concept is called as recursion. Here I have an example. Here I have a class as public class recursion underscore example, and in that I have a method as static void a, and in my a I am printing a statement. So here if you see, after the print statement I am again calling my method which is a, and in my main, which is public static void main, I am again calling my a method. So this is how recursive function works, and this is how you can call them. Number 14. What is the difference between a linear and non-linear data structure? Well, in a linear data structure, we place the data elements adjacent to each other. Arrays, queues, stacks, and linked lists are some of the examples of linear data structures. Here we have examples of arrays, queues, and stacks. We have list of different numbers that we have had into our different kind of structures. In non-linear data structure, it is possible for a data element to be connected to more than two data elements. Example of non-linear data structures are graphs and trees. Number 15. What do you mean by Fibonacci search? Well, it is a type of search that we perform for quick result. This type of algorithm gets applied to the sorted arrays. It cuts the array into two halves and then looks for the desired number or target in each half. If it does not find the result in one half, it completely ignores it for the following research. And then it keeps looking in the second half and the search goes on. For example, let's say here I have an array or list of number that is sorted and starts from 1 to 14. So here, as we have 14-digit array, let's say we are looking for 13. First, it will divide the array in half and look at the first half. As 13 will not be there, now we are left with the second half, as we will have the values as 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 and 14. Now, again array will be divided in two halves and search will keep on continue until the 13 is found. Number 16. What is Fibonacci series? Well, it is a type of series in which the following number is a sum of the previous two numbers. It starts with 0 and 1 and then it adds the previous two numbers to find out the following number. For example, it will look something like this: 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34 and so on. So if you see here, basically we are adding previous two number to get the third one. And we keep on doing this until and unless we get the desired number. Number 17. What are constants? Well, constants are those data values that are the same throughout the program execution or when the program is executed. For example, literal constants, name constants, etc. Number 18. What do you mean by OOP? Well, OOP stands for Object-Oriented Programming. It is a programming paradigm that provides the concepts such as inheritance, classes, object, polymorphism, etc. Number 19. What do you mean by software testing? Well, software testing is a process that mostly takes place after the development phase of the software or system. It is done to find out the errors in the development of the system or software and makes sure that the software meets its standard specification. Testing is of many types and it depends on the situation and requirements with which one you want to go. Number 20. What are the stages of software testing? Usually, we divide the software testing into three phases: unit testing, modular testing, system testing. In unit testing, we test the smallest unit of a program. For example, if the sign-up function is working or not. This can also be done by developer as well. For modular testing, we test a big chunk of a system with many units, and all those units are linked with each other. So we check all of them and they are working with each other. In system testing, as the name suggests, we test the whole system at once. And a system is composed of different modules. This is the last phase of testing. And after that, we do some more testing like deployment testing, maintenance testing, etc. But mainly, we consider these phases only. Number 21. What do you know about AVL tree? Well, a binary tree that is always partially balanced is called as AVL tree. And it was the first ever data structure that was designed in such a way. The balance in the tree is the difference between the highest of the subtree from the root. Number 22. What do you mean by sorting? Well, sorting is a method in which we arrange our elements in such an order that they are in ascending or descending order. Let's say we have this array with some unequal values, like we have 32, then 655, then 12, 64, 76, 33, 98, 1088. So you can see we have non-linear values and it is unarranged. Now after applying the sorting, it will be like this, and we will have 12, 32, 33, 64, 76, 98, 655, 1088, or we can arrange it in the reverse order, means from highest to lower number. Number 23. How many sorting methods are out there? Name 4 and perform one on the given array. Well, we have bubble sort, insertion sort, selection sort, merge sort. Let's apply bubble sort on the given array, and the given array is 6, 4, 3, 2, 8. So first of all, we'll swap the adjacent element if they are in the wrong places. We started from the left side. So as you can see, 4 and 6 are in the wrong order. That is why we'll swap them. And our array will look like this now. 4, 6, 3, 2, 8. Now 4 and 6 are in the right order, so 6 will be compared with 3, and as they both are in the wrong place, they both will get swapped and the array will look like this now. 4, 3, 6, 2, 8. So again in the next iteration, the 4 and 3 are in the wrong place, so that will be shifted and the array will look like this now. 3, 4, 6, 2, 8. And the cycle will keep going until we get the final result, and the final result will be like this: 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, and now you can see we have the sorted array at the end. Number 24. What do you mean by SDLC? Well, SDLC stands for Software Development Lifecycle. It is the process of developing software, and every software development has to go through. Some people say there are 7 phases and some say 6, but they offer the same purpose. They are as follow: planning, analysis, design, development, testing, implementation, and maintenance. Number 25. What is the beta software version? As the name suggests, it is a pre-released version of any program that we distribute to many users. This helps the developers or the companies to get feedback and a further response from the users about the program or software. And then it helps us to improve our pre-release system. Today, this is a very vital practice that even large organizations follow. For example, most Linux distributions release their beta version, and after some time, they release the stable version with all the improvements and updates. Number 26. Why are comments highly recommended in any program? Any good program or software contains several hundreds of lines of code, and sometimes it gets very problematic to edit the code after some time. Or let's say you joined a company or were asked to edit a code written by someone else. It will be very challenging for you to do it as you have no background knowledge. So with the help of comments, it gets effortless to understand the code and then edit it. Number 27. What is the difference between debugging and testing? Well, many issues are discovered during testing a computer program or its code, and these are referred to as errors and bugs. Debugging is called the process of correcting those errors and bugs. In other words, debugging is the process of correcting the failures discovered during code implementation. While by testing, we mean to find out the behavior of our program. We test the program or software for every possible condition and try to fail the software to find out the missing or wrongly implemented things. Testing is mainly done by the testers and debugging is solely done by the developers. Number 28. What is the prerequisite phase of the testing phase? Well, developing a system is a prerequisite for the testing phase, and as a tester cannot use a system that has not been developed since, and all of the phases of SDLC are dependent on their previous phases. Number 29. What is the difference between a compiler and an interpreter? Well, these are used to convert higher level language into machine language. Higher level language mean programming languages. or the language that a machine can understand. The interpreter translates the code into machine code line by line, and it takes significantly less time to analyze the code. But the overall conversion time is much higher than the compiler. On the other hand, the compiler scans the whole program at once and translates the whole program into machine code or machine language. It takes a long time to analyze the code, but it takes significantly less time to execute the overall code. Number 30. What do you mean by higher level and lower level programming languages? Programming languages that do not offer and allow any generalization from the instruction set architecture of the computer is called a low-level programming language. Machine language and assembly language are examples of low-level languages. High-level languages are languages that are not dependent on any processor or underlying structure of the computer. For example, C++, Python, and Java are examples of high-level languages. You take the code of Java and you can run it on any computer and system. For example, the same code will give you the same output if you are running it on Windows or Linux or Mac operating system, etc. Number 31. How many types of operators are there in programming? Well, operators are the function that we use to perform certain types of operation on our data in programming, and we represent them by symbols. There are 4 types of operators. Arithmetic. Well, they get used for the mathematical operations like plus, minus, division, multiplication, modulus, plus or minus. It means increment or decrement. Then we have assignment operator. They get used to assign values to variables, for example, equals, plus equal, minus equal, etc. Then we have comparison operator, and as the name suggests, they are used to compare the values like equal, greater than equal, less than equal, not equal. And at the end, we have logical. These type of operators are used to allow computer to make decision. Like we have logical AND, we have logical OR, we have logical NOT, etc. Number 32. Programming languages have reserved word. What do you mean by that? Well, reserved words are also known as keywords, and they are those words that we cannot use as our variables or for any other purpose than they are intended for. For example, the break keyword is used for putting a break in a program. Int is a data type and Boolean is a true-false condition. So, we cannot use these words for any other purpose. Some other examples of keywords are included catch, to upper, class, constant, double, raise, etc. Number 33. What do you mean by algorithm? We can define an algorithm as a defined and finite number of steps when get followed can help you in achieving or completing a particular task. Some of the algorithm features are efficiency, fitness, and clarity. The simplest example of an algorithm is when we add 2 numbers. We follow an algorithm, and in terms of its feature, it is always clear that we need to do or how to use it. In terms of its efficiency, we know that we will get the correct answer whenever we add 2 numbers by following the rules of the algorithm. In terms of fitness, we can add as much numbers. The algorithm of addition will never fail. Number 34. What do you mean by loop? Loop is a basic structure available and present in every high-level programming language. We use a loop where a repetitive task needs to be done until a condition is met. We have 3 major types of loops in programming. We have for loop, while loops, do-while loops. For loop looks like this. We write for, then we declare a variable, then we give some value or condition to variable, and then we increment or decrement that variable. And in the body of that for loop, we can do anything. While loop looks like this. First of all, we declare a variable, then we give it a condition, Then we do our work, and at the end we increment or decrement that particular variable. In do while loop, we declare a variable, we do our work, and then we increment or decrement our variable, and at the end in our while, we give the condition to our variable. So these are basic differences between three types of loops. Number 35. What do you mean by data structure? Well, the data structure is a way that we can use to format, store, organize, and manipulate our data. Some data structure examples are trees, arrays, graphs, etc. Number 36. What do you mean by dry principle? Dry stands for don't repeat yourself. It is a principle that we follow in software development. It aims at reducing the repetition of usage of patterns. To get rid of this problem, data normalization should be used, or the repetitive software pattern should be replaced with the abstraction. Number 37. What is data abstraction? Data abstraction comes in handy when we have to work or tackle a huge program. Data abstraction helps you break down complex problems into small and easily manageable subproblems, and to do this, the data objects and operations that need to be performed must be specified, and then the data objects get stored in the memory. Number 38. What do you mean by dynamic data structure? Dynamic data structures have this feature that they get expanded and contract as our program runs. Because of that, it provides and offers a very flexible method of data manipulation because it adjusts itself based on the size of the data needed to be manipulated. Number 39. What do you mean by subroutine? Well, the subroutine is a set of self-contained statements usable from anywhere in a computer program. Once your subroutine is done successfully performing its intended task, it returns the control to the section of the program. Number 40. What do you mean by program documentation? Well, program documentation can be defined as the description of the coding method, design, algorithm, testing, and all of the use and requirement of a computer program. This document is convenient for the user and the developers can use this document when they need to update, correct, or update the system. Program documentation helps you keep track of everything related to your system, and it also makes sure and helps you keep track of your work done and needed to be done. Number 41. Please explain some differences between stack and array. Well, stack follows a LIFO pattern, which is also called as last in, first out. It means that in a particular sequence where the entry made in the stack list will be the first to leave the stack. On the other hand, in array, we do not follow any specific order, but instead, array can be accessed or called by referring to the index of an element within the array. Number 42. The string is final in Java. What do you mean by that? Well, there are two main reasons why string is final in Java, and it is because of ensuring the performance and security. So, if the string is mutable, it can be attacked easily as we use string in network connection and database. And if the string is immutable, then there will be no synchronization issues as the string will be thread safe. Number 43. Explain the top-down approach. This design methodology or approach is adopted for analyzing the software. With this approach, we do not tackle the system as a whole. This approach divides into several subproblems and then we solve all of them individually. And at the end, all the solutions are combined to get the best solution. Number 44. What do you mean by arrays? Well, arrays can be defined as a programming structure composed of collecting several data values of the same types. In other words, Array is a group of memory location that store the same type of data. Number 45. What is a prerequisite of functional requirements? Functional requirements define what the program is intended to do. As we have different phases in SDLC, which is Software Development Life Cycle, we have a way that we follow to design our use cases, test cases, functional requirements, etc. When you write your use case, you can quickly draw the functional requirements from them. So we can say that use cases are the prerequisite of the functional requirements. Number 46. What do you mean by modeling language? We have different type of modeling language that we use to interpret different information related to our system. In other words, an artificial language that we use to express information with the help of a set of reliable rules. We have different modeling languages like flowchart, system modeling language, unified modeling language, which is also known as UML, and then we have extended enterprise modeling language, etc. Number 47. What do you mean by alpha and beta testing? In alpha testing, we test the system in our own environment while or after the development of the program. We test the system if it is performing the intended functions or not. We release the system to some real users for beta testing in their environment. Then those users test or use the system according to their liking and requirements. Then we see if the system is performing as intended by the user or not. So in easy words, alpha testing is done by the developers and the users do the beta testing. Number 48. What do you mean by FIFO and LIFO? FIFO stands for first in, first out. It is just like a queue where the one to enter a queue first will be able to leave the queue first as well. On the other hand, LIFO stands for last in, first out. This phenomena gets used in the stack where an item entered in the stack first will be the last one to leave it. Number 49. Which language is known as the mother programming language? Well, C is known as the mother language because most of the compiler and JVMs present today are written in C language, and most of the programming languages developed after the C languages have a lot of influence like C++, Python, Rust, etc. Number 50. Which one of your skills and expertise would contribute to the team? Well, you might get asked this question in almost every interview. So list down your programming and other skills that you have learned before the interview. Identify 3 or 4 of the most valuable of them you believe your hiring company desires, and then compare those skills with the job nature and try to find if they are suitable for that job or not. And that was all about the 50 questions that you can consider for your next programming interview. And that also brings us to the end of today's video. I hope now that you must have loved watching this one. If that is the case, please leave a like, subscribe, and press the bell icon. We'll get back to you in the next video. Till then, take care.